In this section, we'll be making adjusting entries to reflect expenses incurred during the period. Up to now, we have debited the asset when we've purchased an item, but have not recorded any information for assets that have been used up. This is where adjustments come in. They are changes recorded on a worksheet to update general ledger accounts at the end of a fiscal period. Sometimes a business will pay cash for an expense in one fiscal period, but the expense is not used until a later period. Can you think of any examples? 2 would be supplies and insurance. In a business, the expense should be reported in the same fiscal period that it is used to produce the revenue. This is the accounting concept known as matching expenses with revenue. We need to bring those accounts up to date at the end of the fiscal period. We need to reflect what was used during the period. The supplies on hand, or those inventoried, are not going to match the amount listed in the ledger account. We actually would have much less on hand than what is showing up in our ledger. The amount of supplies used is an expense, and it's not practical to record an entry every time some supplies are used. What we do is to create one entry at the end of the period. We count up, we see what we have for supplies on hand, and then we're able to adjust it by making an entry at the end of the period. We must deduct the amount that was used during the period from the asset account and apply it to the appropriate expense accounts. Few things to keep in mind. Assets are used to earn revenue. The portions used to earn revenue become expenses of the business. Again, that's matching expenses with revenue. The worksheet is used to plan adjustments. It allows us the opportunity to check accuracy before we do any journalizing and enter the information into the books. Our books are not up to date, though, until we actually journalize the adjusting entries and then post those to the general ledger. So let's take a look at what we need to do to adjust our supplies. There are 4 questions that will be asked in analyzing the adjustment. First, what is the balance of supplies? Our ledger shows that we have $1,025 worth of supplies on hand. However, when we do an inventory, we find that we only have $310 worth of supplies on hand. So the second question is, what should the balance be? And it should be $310. Our next question is, what must be done to correct the account balance? Well, if we subtract the $310 from what we originally started out with, or what our current balance is showing in supplies, we must show the decrease in supplies of $715. So what is the adjustment to be made? We're going to credit supplies, $715, and debit our supplies expense for $715. After we've done that and we post everything into the supplies ledger account, we will have a balance of $310 in supplies, and that will be up to date. So to put that information into the worksheet, what we'll do is, in the adjustments column for debits, we're going to debit supplies expense for $715, and we will credit supplies for $1,715. And you'll notice that I have an A in parentheses next to these 2 items, and that's just to show that they are related. I'll now do the same thing for prepaid insurance. At the beginning of the year, we purchased $1,200 of insurance. Now, if that's good for the year, that means that we use up $100 a month. If I took $1,200 and divided it by 12 months, I would get $100 a month. So again, I'm going to ask my 4 questions. What is the balance of the prepaid insurance? And what I have on hand is actually, I used up $100, so I actually have $1,100 on hand. That's what the balance should be. So what must be done to correct the account balance? I need to decrease prepaid insurance $100 and increase my insurance expense $100. So my next question is, what is the adjustment to be made? I want to debit insurance expense for $100 and credit my prepaid insurance for $100. After I'm done journalizing and posting it, I will have a $1,100 balance in prepaid insurance. So on my worksheet, I'll do the same thing that I did for the supplies, and I will debit my insurance expense $100, and I will credit prepaid insurance $100, and again I mark those with a lowercase b so that I can show that those two are related as well. And you can view the overlay in your book to see how that all comes together. After all the adjustments are recorded, we need to prove the equality of our debits and credits. So I'm going to start by drawing a line under the two columns, and then I total up my debits, which come to $815. I total up the credits, which come to $815. My debits and credits are equal, so then I draw a double line underneath the two to show that I have verified the equality of debits and credits. And now what I'd like you to do is to enter the vocabulary term adjustment in the vocabulary sheet, and then you can view the Work Together video to do application or Work Together 6-2.